Welcome back, Justin and Phil.
Hello to all the listeners out there in Radio Land and those watching on YouTube. And I hope you've had a great Christmas and New Year period. We certainly did, Phil.
We sure did.
Too good.
Went up to Brisbane.
Did you?
Yeah. Had a great time up there. Very hot.
Love the humidity?
Yeah. No, but it's good.
No, go back to Canberra for that dry heat.
It was very hot. I was stopped at Kempsey on the way to Queensland. I also went to Queensland. Did you go to Queensland, Justin?
I did.
I went to Queensland. We all went to Queensland. We all went to the motherland. And we got out of the car at Kempsey, and it was about 33 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And my wife said, "Oh, this has always been this way. I don't remember ever being this humid."
It's always hot in Kempsey. It's like Grafton.
Very
Hello,
humid.
everyone in Grafton.
What did you do for the holidays? Just quickly.
Stayed home.
Nobody
basically.
cares. We're halfway into January.
Trained sheepdogs. Stayed home.
Stayed home.
Got
and then
some
went to-
irrigation for the garden working.
and then Queensland.
I did 2 nights in Queensland. Took my wife to the Outback Spectacular on the Gold Coast.
And do you
she
rate it?
loved it? I loved it, and I shouldn't promote it, but I'm going to. The Outback Spectacular was really good. Made you proud to be an Australian.
Have you been to it, Phil?
I haven't. I've been to everything else, Dream World, Sea World, Water World,
Every world.
but I've never been to the Spectacular.
Outback
I've seen it
Spectacular.
there, but I've never gone. But
Yep.
since the way Justin's talking about it, I think I'm going to go.
Might need to go. I might need to take my non-Australian wife there as well.
Yeah,
It's a
she'd love
lot of well, you get a lot of Australiana, unapologetic Australiana. I'm a bit sort of nation proud with Australia.
We get
sorry.
helicopters.
Patriotic, they call
You
it.
got to see the show. I'm not going to tell you about it because I'll spoil it. But yeah, they have a helicopter in the show
Wow.
indoors.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
A lot happening in the world. This is the perfect storm, and this is first episode back since Christmas. Current news and Bible prophecy, and there just so happens to be a lot of current news in the world.
It's non-stop, isn't it?
It's
Crazy.
It's a crazy time with leadership changes and potential leadership changes everywhere. We like to explore the political landscape because that generally affects everything else.
And to the listeners out there, I'm sorry sometimes we have to go into details that might make you glaze over. We are giving you what we believe is important for you to understand the landscape in which we're living right now. And we're trying to simplify it and give you some important facts. And today, I think we need to recenter everyone, Kyle. Just that, okay, Trump's about to take office on the 20th of January. This show's being recorded on the 9th.
2 weeks' time.
Wow, a lot of big things he's promising. But the biggest threat that he's going to face will be an economic one. Maybe military, actually.
We'll talk about it later, but
We
he
will.
wants to take over a few countries too.
He does, and that's military. Reasons he wants to do it is we're shaping up for a global conflict, the likes of which the world has never seen. There you go. I'm speculating. Yep, I'm speculating. China and the US are going to get into a kinetic conflict, I think, very soon.
What are the reasons you think that? Is
Just-
it economics?
It's look at China, what they're trying to do.
Did they just bust up the undersea cable?
They've been
to
ripping up cables like the Russia-Ukraine thing made them pull up one for Germany. They use a cargo ship with an anchor and just pull them up. They just cut off one for Taiwan a day ago. They are
Poking the bear.
that in every front. These drones off the US, the bomber that blew himself up outside the Trump Tower in Las Vegas, he put out an email talking about this propulsion invention America has that China has stolen that has these drones, this anti-gravity propulsion. Like none of us even know what this is, but all of a sudden now these things that we thought were UFOs, the Nimitz filmed, the US aircraft carrier, they come up out of the water and go back in. These drones off the east coast of the United States, he claimed in this email, were coming out of the ocean from Chinese subs and harassing the US east coast, showing their power and what they can do. The US apparently have the same things. Mate, on every front, they're shaping up for a war, but what's really leading to it, I think, is the economy of China. It is in desperate trouble. They're buying their own bonds. The bond market around the world is frightening at the moment. There's a lot of economic stuff in all of history. You have your collapse economically, which leads to conflict. And that, to me, is one of the biggest tips of what's going on, is this unending bubble of debt that we have accumulated.
Why does it lead to conflict?
Well, what else are they going to do? They've built such a military.
So conflict or a war kind of resets.
Makes everyone angry. You lose all your wealth. People go through hardship and they want an easy path and they think, I'm going to steal. You imagine if just in your neighborhood, if everyone goes broke, is crime going to go up? Of course it is. Well, it becomes that like for nation states then. When they lose all their wealth, they want to steal what others have and it motivates them to go to war because of hardship. If you want crime, go to a poor area. Go to a rich area, everyone leaves each other alone because they're not in need. It's very basic and very human. Anyway, Kyle, what are we going to talk about?
You wanted to.
We're raving on
There's
that.
your introduction.
That was a really good chat. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Now back to the show.
You're listening to Kyle Morrison if you're listening to Faith FM at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're also on YouTube, but we sometimes forget to point out who's talking. So we're trying to be more radio inclusive.
Yeah. That was Justin Lawman just speaking on
And that
Phil
was
Yates.
Phil. That was Phil that just
It's
mentioned
also
Justin.
known as Fabulous.
Fabulous Phil.
Dr. Phil.
So Keynesian economics, however you like to pronounce it.
I say Keynesian.
Doesn't mean you're right, but that's what you say.
That's what I say.
Versus Austrian economics. The biggest differences are the central idea behind Keynesian economics is that the government has the power to stabilize the economy through strategic intervention. This stands in opposition to Austrian economics, a theory that states that the government should have zero involvement in economic process such as stabilizing markets. Now, the biggest thing for me on this topic is chainsaw guy in politician.
Venezuela?
No. The guy that he was an economist and he campaigned with a chainsaw with no chain on it. He was revving the engine and he got into power.
Argentina, sorry.
Yeah.
Argentina, yeah.
What was his name again?
Yeah, him.
Anyways, I remember
Maduro, is it?
No,
that's
not
Brazil.
Maduro. I remember him giving a speech, and he was talking about these different theories of economics. But you wanted to get everyone
He's
centered
Austrian.
again on
He's Austrian school.
yes,
So, and to the listeners at home, what happened? As a classic example, there's a movie called The Big Short. The movie explains what happened in the 2008 correction or crash, the global financial crisis. These traders were disgusting in their behavior. They just were greedy, took risk on risk on risk. And when it all crashed, because modern monetary theory or Keynesian economics, it's called, sorry to give you details, folks, because of that, who is it?
Javier Milei, president of Argentina.
He's a good economist. Because they got this Keynesian mentality that the government's got to rescue you, what they did is they bailed out the top end of town. They took all the risk, and you know whose money they took, Kyle? They took Phil's money. They took, if we're American, Justin's money, Kyle's money. They did it in Australia too. They're basically taking the tax base, which is the middle class, and using that money to bail out people that should have had the consequences for their actions. Austrian economics says if you burn your credit card way up, it's not that mum's going to come and rescue you. You're going to go bankrupt. So you better behave. And it might be good for you to go bankrupt because it'll stop you running up the credit card. And the world has just kept running up the credit card because there's been no consequences for their bad actions. And that's happening around the world. It's happening with countries now, not with, well, individuals are doing it too. And by the way, if you're listening, go to a podcast called The Ramsey Show.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. Well, it's just called Ramsey now because Dave's not always on there. If you want to get your finances in order, he's a Christian and he does very good explanation. It's time, folks, to get out of debt. It's time to get out of debt, and credit cards are evil.
Another good book, and we're not here promoting, but yeah, another good book, Barefoot Investor.
Yep.
That changed my life economically.
Listening to Dave Ramsey really motivated me. Very Christian Dave Ramsey. That's why I like him over the Barefoot. But
They teach the same thing.
They do.
Similar things.
Similar.
Just one's better than the other.
But right now, the world is getting itself in such a debt bubble
There it
that
is.
it's going to lead to bad things for everyone. And there's been a transfer of wealth under Barack Obama's government in the US. Instead of being Austrian in your thinking, the economic school of letting it crash, and GM, Goldman Sachs, all the big end of town pay the price for their bad behavior, they use the common man's money, the tax base, to put $4.5 trillion back into the economy, stealing money, printing money, which has now led to our inflation and ultimately to a massive economic correction sometime in the future. We don't know when, but I think we're going to live to see it. It's not going to be that far off.
And why did you want to start with that? What is it that you want? How can people have any effect on what the government does with finances?
Just understand, people at home, the times in which we're living, this is not normal behaviour that governments, Australia, way back in the time when John Howard, you heard of him before?
Yeah, I've heard of John.
John Howard was a Prime Minister. We had zero government debt. Now Australia is at $1 trillion.
We're at $1 trillion.
We're at $1 trillion.
Wow, when did we click over?
Well, how far are we off it or over it, Kyle? You'll have to Google that for us. But we as a country now pay interest on that, which means our buying power of our dollar gets less and less because we've got so much debt. We're creating ourselves a terrible hole. We're not as bad as the rest. We're the best of a bunch of midgets. We're the tallest midget.
830.
That was
2021.
Oh, okay.
We've got to get some more factual stuff. In any case, if you're listening at home, just understand that you're making investment. We don't give investment advice or financial advice, but understand what's going on now isn't going to continue forever. It will stop. There will be a correction, and there will be a reckoning for the bad behavior that's going on. It's not going to be normal, and that will lead to other bad stuff.
Yeah. What's the number one thing you can do at home to get right financially?
Get out of debt.
Credit cards?
Definitely. You know, Dave Ramsey would say start with your smallest debt and pay that off. And you feel good about that, and it gives you more. Now, your house debt, there's not a lot you can do about house debt. At least you've got an asset for that. But the stuff where you don't have an asset, particularly debt where there's no asset. So credit cards are classic for that. It's just been spending on stuff that's not retrievable.
If you don't have the money, don't buy.
Your house is an investment, so you can have debt on your house. Your car, you can make cars investments. I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah.
Turn them over quick.
But on a whole, the
But on a
car's going
whole,
to lose money.
anything that's not an investment shouldn't have debt on it.
$897 billion, and it's projected to grow to $1 trillion by the end of 26-27 financial year.
So we're not quite there yet.
Getting close.
What interest are we paying? Unbelievable how quick we've run that up. All because they took on Keynesian's theory that the government must intervene. All that's doing is causing inflation, and we are all gradually getting poorer and poorer and poorer.
How much did COVID affect that?
COVID
It's
totally affected.
doubled since then, right?
Yeah.
As a share of GDP, they'll say it's gone down, but 2019 it was only
Well, doubled,
540.
didn't it? Nearly.
But what happens now, we get into a conflict with China and all our exports stop. They're going to want to print more money. But
Maybe
we're already nearly up to $1 trillion.
Maybe we can use our coal and natural gas for ourselves and get cheap energy prices.
So in comparison to America, they're
America's going to hit 37 very shortly, 37 trillion. and the interest on that now is 1.14 trillion a year, more than what they spend on their military. And okay, we've talked about this before. Just mentioning again, that's a big issue. Donald Trump and his crew come into power, they have to fix this. Do you think that's going to be painful? Very. Very.
They're going to be the bad guys.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to have to try, or you just write off your currency.
What are some of the things you'd do if you were Donald?
We're not gonna go into economics. If I were Donald, no. Let's talk about some other stuff. Kyle.
I mean,
Trump wants to buy other countries. He wants to buy Greenland.
Apparently, he announced that he'll place massive tariffs on Denmark if they don't immediately relinquish all control of Greenland.
So what's this for? Why does he
We
want to buy
need
Greenland?
Greenland for national security purposes, as he's saying.
This is him getting ready for war. This is Justin's interpretation, not Faith FM. This is Justin Lawman here. Donald Trump, he wants to take control of the Panama Canal. The Americans built that. 38,000 people died building it. The Americans built it. They foolishly gave it back to Panama. Now Panama's given it to China or sold it to China. And Donald Trump says, no, you're not. And he is on, guys, he's on a rampage. Expect a lot of this.
So they want to sell it to China or sold to China?
The China's got it.
Okay.
And Donald says, no, you don't. That's ours. I'm taking that back, and if I have to use a military, I will.
Right.
He's getting ready for war, and he wants Greenland because the subs that come out of Russia and Europe, and they want to get down over, into the Atlantic and everywhere. The only submarine nuclear base where the US submarines can dock in Europe is in Scotland. And the Scots nearly broke away from England. They had that referendum. It didn't go. And that day, because Scotland, that makes them a massive target for a nuclear strike. They don't want a nuclear submarine base there. So they would say, no, not us. And then America's got nothing. So they need Greenland, and they want Canada. Trump wants Canada for military protection to keep the shipping lanes open. And you can easily get down into the Pacific through the ice pack there as well.
Well, if you've got UK and you've got Greenland, nothing's getting through there without being spotted.
They can monitor. Remember, the next war, submarines are the key factor.
Why?
One Ohio class sub, just one, has up to 180 thermonuclear warheads.
And now drones are flying out of the water.
Well, you imagine America, and we don't ever want to think of this, but America gets into a nuclear conflict with China and they start exchanging missiles. And they take out their guys, he'd take out their guys. And there's only one submarine left. Well, that side wins. The first thing they do is kill all the other guys' subs. Subs are the key thing. And so Greenland represents control of the waterway of shipping, but particularly they need to be have the upper hand with detecting and locating the enemy submarines.
So Donald doesn't trust Denmark.
Oh, I don't think he has a problem with Denmark.
Because
He
they're
just
allies,
wants-
aren't they? Are they allies?
Yeah, but he wants Greenland,
Yeah.
and they've got it. So this is him trying to. What will probably happen?
Well, if Denmark said no, you can't have a base
Now,
here.
what they'll get so scared of him, they'll say, "Okay, build a base here. You're not having the whole country, but you can have the." That's what he's probably angling for.
Okay.
He's the art of the deal.
Shooting for the stars.
That's
landing in
right,
the
and he
clouds.
ends up with the moon. I'm aiming for the planet Venus, but I'll take the moon. And with Canada, he's not going to make Canada a part of America, but he's clearly going to get benefit. He's scaring the Canadians to say, and it'll be, we've negotiated something much less. This is him setting himself up to get a bargain.
Well, it's
Again,
very interesting.
just my opinion.
Give me a state of Greenland. Just give me the bottom bit.
Just give me a submarine base and leave us alone.
It would definitely make, because he's talking about Mexico and Panama Canal. Where is the Panama Canal? Is it down there
Panama.
near Panama, I guess?
Panama, that's it.
And
See,
they apparently
shipping
helped
goes
build
from
that.
Pacific.
You can get through
America built it entirely.
Atlantic to the Pacific.
Yeah.
There it is there.
So there. Or not. Yeah,
They've got a series of locks, and it's an amazing engineering feat. So this is big global powers. There's two now. Or we would include Russia just because of their nukes, but not because of their economy. They're a basket case now with their economy, but the big powerhouse is China. And America has been declining and China's been rising. And Trump says, not on my watch. I'm not going to let China win. How far can he push that before China does something? And he's going to have to. What's going to happen is going to be an incident somewhere out on an ocean or in a sky with a plane or a drone or something. And all of a sudden, one's going to hit back. And next thing you know, it's on like Donkey Kong. And that's, folks, we don't want to just scare you. We want to prepare you. This is the age we're living. Everything's telling me we're heading for a big conflict. Everything. And here it comes. I'm not panicking about it. I'm aware. I'm prepared. Be spiritually prepared. But that's the age in which we're living. And this next little bit will be very interesting because Donald he's on a bender. He's not taking a step back. How will China handle all that?
So what's the Bible say about this? There'll be wars, rumors of wars.
But the end is not yet. The big issue is really the beast and the mark of the beast. But what the Bible does say, the last superpower on earth is not China. The last superpower is the United States. The lamb-like beast that speaks like a dragon. And folks, if you don't believe that, you can put that in the comments and all that. I don't mind. But I do. I'll burn at the stake over the identity of Revelation 13, verse 11 onwards. It is the United States.
Is that in the study guide?
Yep.
And it's simply coming out of the sea. Not coming out of the land. Or it comes out of the land.
Comes out of the earth.
Comes out of the earth.
As one goes down, the other comes
people,
up.
so
It's got a riddle in verse 9 and 10.
Comes out of the earth, the dry land. And that's uninhabited, so it's not.
Well, there's many things. It's lamb-like. It has two horns.
Yep.
Religious and civil liberties. It's the only one that arrives as the other one goes down. 1798, it goes into captivity, the first beast.
Yep.
The great papal power of the Dark Ages went into captivity. Pope Pius VI, 1798, and here's this other one arising about that same time, in that same decade. And anyway, folks, just be aware, be prepared. These are not normal times. These are not normal times. And look what's happening to globalism. A few years ago, everyone thought the Great Reset, you're going to own nothing and be happy. That is communism. That is Karl Marx, pure and simple. The collective over the individual. That's what climate change and their solutions to climate change all happen to be communistic. Now, I'm not getting into the science of carbon. We should reduce our pollution. I have no problems with any of that. But where they're trying to make everyone conform to them, that is pure Karl Marx. And no Christian should be into Karl Marx, in my opinion. It's atheistic. And the individual, because the plan of salvation is for us individually. Now, we're in relationship with one another in the church. We are to be in a church and belong to the body, be accountable to the body, work with each other. But the body can't save me. God saves me, and he can't save my wife through me. He can't save my children or grandchildren. I have to have a relationship directly with God. And Protestantism in the Reformation brought the individual to the forefront. And that's why we got the West and the prosperous West, where we had civil, religious, freedom of speech, all this individual protection. It's trying to be overrun by the corporate or the collective. And that's really I call it communism. I probably should call it socialism, where the collective matters more than the individual rights. So if there's a big virus running around, we all have to get vaccinated. No exceptions. We're in a world where the individual has a right. I will get vaccinated or I won't. And if I don't, Austrian School of Economics, I'll go broke. I'll die because I didn't do it. That's on me. That's nothing to do with you. That's that state of the individual. That's been the West forever. Boy, is it losing it right now. And that big issue you should be aware of when you're watching politics, you're watching the news. Watch out for that collective, everyone must do this.
Well, speaking of communism, Justin Trudeau has announced that he'll resign. And are they related at all? Are these things, do they all line up?
He's a globalist. He's the poster child of globalism. Globalism's dead, folks. It's dead. The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, they're measuring up the coffins, mate. They're gone. And he is being the absolute poster child for the globalists, which I liken to socialist control.
So
the nation state's coming back.
So it didn't help when he cancelled the bank accounts of the truckers that were trying
No,
to
he froze them. He's
protest.
been a disgraceful leader. I'd have upset a whole heap of people when I said that. Phil, dig me out of the hole.
I can't.
It's too deep.
Yeah.
But England's in trouble. Germany's in trouble. France is in trouble. All these governments, guess who they're going to get replaced with? Populist nationalists.
You can see this. You can see the movement.
Can't
You
you?
can see, and I wouldn't say it's happened after Trump. It's happened. Well, Trump's kind of initiated.
Trump got Trudeau early.
Yeah.
He sped that up. When the finance minister resigned because of Trump's tariffs, because Trudeau wouldn't respond, and Trump was trolling him. What did he call him? The governor.
Yeah, governor.
The governor of
The
Canada.
governor of the 51st state.
Like, that's trolling.
Yep.
And Trump was actually being very deliberate when he did that. But we are, again, we're marching further and further towards the populist nationalists. The nation state comes back, and the one nation that dominates the world, according to Bible prophecy, is the United States. That's just how it's going to be. How we get there, we're never really sure. We're not sure.
The other trend that I'm seeing, Denzel Washington getting baptized. There seems to be this huge swing towards Christianity, usually Catholicism, but there's just so many people with like Russell Brand and
Yeah, it's really changing, isn't it?
there's a long list of names of just recent ones that I don't have on the top of my head, but this is the one that happened just this last few weeks, Denzel Washington.
Well, if you want Nikes to be popular, you get Michael Jordan.
What does that mean?
Yeah, if you want a religion to be popular, you get a actor to convert to it. Not that you got him to, but is he converted to Catholicism? Is that what it is? Or?
No, it's Christianity. He's a Baptist.
Okay.
Denzel, you look at the tide of the last 20 years, Christianity has been in the West viewed worse than Islam. And got a lot of good people in Islam, a lot of good people in Christianity. But the outworkings of Christianity are very different to Islamists that want to
Pentecostal.
act violently. And yet the West has seen Christianity as this massive evil thing. That's almost, you can just see it changing in front of your eyes. The US has certainly been more Christian than us, but big prominent people. Yesterday, Joe Rogan interviewed a pastor about Jesus like for 3 hours and went into real detail. There's a real tide that's changed, and I think it's hooked up with Christian nationalism. America's coming to, again, the conservative side are very much Christian. yeah, it's Joe Rogan has not gone here before. He's interviewed Jordan Peterson, certainly I call him an agnostic, but he's quite atheistic, really. But he loves the Bible and he loves the values of Christianity.
His wife's baptized Catholic, and he's getting into it slowly.
Mate, I watched. Who's the big prominent atheist in the UK that wants to argue with everyone all the time? He's an angry atheist.
Which one?
He's the big one that
Is it Phil?
the God,
I'm not in UK.
the God delusion. He wrote-
Great question.
come on,
Hawking?
yeah, Richard Dawkins. Is it?
Dawkins.
Steve Hawking.
We're hopeless, aren't we?
Richard.
Isn't
The
he
God
dead?
delusion.
Didn't he die a long time ago?
That's
No.
him. Richard Dawkins.
Richard Dawkins.
One of his great atheistic cohorts. She's an Islamic lady that became an atheist because she grew up in Islam. She's just become a Christian, and they have a debate together, and everyone should watch it. It's amazing on YouTube, and he can't accept that she's become a Christian. And she said, I used to have 6 bodyguards protecting me when I was in an Islamic country. And I'd criticize Christianity and people would write me letters saying they're praying for me. And it really affected her. And that power to hit becoming a Christian because of the way you're being treated says a lot to the church and how we've got to behave. It's not just all about the intellectual arguments. It's the way we treat people.
So, with a new year upon us, final question, and then we'll give them the book offer. New Year's resolutions or plans for things to focus on this year? Just sprung this on them. Didn't give
This
them any
could
warning.
be, I talked about Denzel, and you got Joe Rogan as well. This could be genuine. These guys could be genuinely coming to Christ.
I think they are, yeah.
And this could be, they could bring they've got a lot of influence. They could bring a lot of people to it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So that could be good.
So what's your New Year's
Are
resolution?
you going to get baptized too?
Well, no, we haven't been baptized. New Year's resolution is, I think share Christ with as many people as I can. The good news that I have, what does the Bible say? In earthen vessels, we have this hope, we have this treasure, and we all have it inside of us. Those who believe in Jesus Christ and what He did for humanity on the cross. And I think the New Year's resolution for all of us needs to be to share that, and that comes through having relationships with people and telling them about the joy and the hope and the peace that you have in your life.
Amen. I read over the break, I've been spending like days and days in Isaiah 58. I read 57, 59, all back and around it. But Isaiah 58, Ellen White quotes Isaiah 58 more than any other chapter in her writings. Man, it's been real. I'm loving it. I'm still there. And it's contrasting a transactional relationship with God with a actual just, no matter what I get out of it or what I don't get out of it, He's my Savior and I'm with Him. And the Sabbath features so heavily there because in verse 13, because it's relational. And to have a relationship with God, not in the, we talk about it all the time, but actually He's not transactional. I have this relationship. I've fasted, so now you've got to do this, is what God's repulsed by there. And He wants them just to have a relationship with Him with no benefits. Now, yeah, there are benefits, but that's not the reason. And I've just been challenged to that. And I'm just reading my old Bible now. I've been listening to all these different ones, and I've got my old leather one out and just taking it everywhere and chugging through it rather than I've been listening digitally and audio and all that. Now I've got the glasses out and my pens again, and I'm just marking my Bible again. That's my New Year's resolution.
To do that more.
Yeah, like every day. Rather than going audio.
Yep. I think for me, I've been putting a bit of effort into building a gym And I think I just want to use that.
Well, we're doing that too.
Those spiritual things that you guys came up with on the spot there, they were really good too. But
You want to gym it.
yeah, I was thinking of
Well,
using
we're
the
all
gym.
going to gym it.
So maybe we listen to Audio Bible
We
in the
just
gym.
want it to be finished, Phil. We just want the gym finished.
I wish.
If only you worked on it, it might be finished faster.
That's why you're here, Kyle.
That's right. So topics for this year. I wonder if the audience has things that they might want answered, and maybe they want to send in recommendations of things they want
Or
explained
questions,
to them, or
particularly questions.
questions they have about what's going on in the world.
We're going to
with-
have lots of material to work with.
Yeah.
Trump takes office in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So if you have questions, if you have something you want discussed, unpacked, explained, there's certain things that we won't do, talk about, but hopefully most things we can. So 0482 082 876. If you text your question to that number, I'll get into the back end of that and read those messages each week, and we'll try and answer some of those questions.
What's the giveaway, Kyle?
We are giving away still the study guide, and it's very popular.
It's life-changing.
It's very popular. It's the
Bible
kind of thing-
marking guide. If you want to get that, it's 0482 082 876. So write this down, 0482 082 876, and you text the word Kyle.
study.
Study.
Just the word study. And
It
then
is
the
very
bot will say,
popular.
tell me your address. You'll give it your address, and then it'll
Get you one.
ask you the questions, and then we'll get that out to you. But any questions, use that same number and send through a question, and we'll get onto that. So it's good to be back. It's good to be fresh after the holidays, after being in sunny Queensland. And I'm looking forward to another year of unpacking things with you guys on The Perfect Storm.
Thank you, Kyle.
God bless you, mate.
We'll see you soon.